We all were excited. Most of us were when the Brewers signed Rhys Hoskins to that big contract in the offseason, a 2-year deal, option for a third. And the Brewers had themselves a first baseman, one with some power. Do we feel the same way right now? Is Rhys on the trade block? And is he hurting the Brewers right now? We'll get to that coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Career lows for Rhys Hoskins with the Milwaukee Brewers in 2024, coming off the knee surgery, the ACL. But we thought he'd be bouncing back. The Brewers get themselves a big-time, big-market player from the Philadelphia Phillies, a productive first baseman who is going to be a guy to answer their first base woes. The Brewers have not been able to find a suitable first baseman since the days of Prince Fielder, and we finally had our guy. We were all on board. Boy, we hope Rhys Hoskins sticks around for the 2 or 3 years on that deal. Some of us, though, are thinking, man, why did he pick up the option on 2025? And we're on the hook for something of 2026 as well. We'll explain if he's on the trading block and if it would behoove the Brewers to try to trade him. And what could they get back from him? A lot of questions coming up here on Locked On Brewers. Part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman, proud host of Locked On Brewers. Proud host. Great to get you aboard here. Happy holidays to everybody out there. And just had a ton of views and downloads on Friday's episode about Devin Williams. You want to go back and check it out? It's on all the platforms. Please check it out. He was. We talked about the trade and who the Brewers got. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on here in the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase on Locked On Brewers. So here's what happened last year, last offseason. The Brewers, signed Hoskins to a 2-year deal, and there was an option for a third year. So the Brewers paid him, $12 million from last year. We're all good with that, okay? And Hoskins went out, and, it wasn't spectacular. Career low in numbers. Wasn't like his old Philly days when the guy was a bona fide stud at first base. Went down in production, didn't hit very well, struck out a lot. In fact, was even pinch hit for in the playoffs. So when the season was winding down, we sat here and thought, oh boy, please, Rhys, are you going to pick up that option on your contract? $18 million. Now, at one time, that looked to be something we were all possibly on board for. If Hoskins put up 40 home runs, was healthy, hit, for a decent batting average and drove in runs, he still drove in over 80 runs. But if he had a spectacular season, if he overproduced. When the Brewers sign guys, we always hope that they outperform their contract. Well, if they would outperform this contract, we wouldn't be talking about this today. He'd be in the free agent market, and the Brewers and we all will be talking about who is going to play first base next year. The Brewers already have a prop at third base, but who's going to play first base? So Rhys picks up the option on his deal. And so he picks up the option on $18 million. So what does that mean going forward? Well, that means going forward is there's a mutual option for 2026. Both sides have to agree for $18 million. And if they don't come to terms on that, that means the Brewers would owe him $4 million on a buyout for next year. So at the very least, the Brewers are on the hook for $22 million with Rhys Hoskins for the remainder of this contract, at least. And I don't see the Brewers being all in on that contract for next year. And the rumblings are out there right now that the Brewers are trying to trade Rhys. And of course, at the time when the Brewers got him, it was like, great, let's keep him. But the Brewers, that there's no way that they wanted Rhys to pick up the option on his contract. Kind of back in the day when K-Rod had 17 or 18 million due. I was at a toy drive around this time of the year. Well, it was a couple months earlier. It was about a month earlier in the off season of 2011 doing a toy drive. And Doug Melvin, the general manager, came around And I said, Doug, what are you going to do about that contract if he looks at the option? He goes, we'll be doing one of these fundraising drives for us. He was joking, but somehow they worked out a deal, and I don't think they didn't have to pay him $17 million. And they gave him like a multi-year deal. I forgot what it was. It was 13 years ago. But I know the Brewers were like, $17 million for K-Rod. We don't want him to do that. And Rhys did pick up the $18 million. Now, what is his trade value? Should they trade him or should they keep him? Now, if you trade him, it's a salary dump. All right? It's a salary dump. That's what it is. Because you're not getting much value in return from Hoskins. For Hoskins. In fact, you may have to pay up some of that $18 million to a team to take him off your hands. That might be the case. I'm almost definite that's going to be the case. If the Brewers trade Hoskins, you're not going to get a heck of a lot in return because everybody knows the Brewers are trying to dump his salary. And also, the $18 million, you're going to have to send something back to that other team. Now, I saw on the Phillies message boards or blogs or whatever, Philly fans are like, oh, we should get Rhys Hoskins back. The Phillies aren't moving Bryce Harper out of first base. They're not putting him back out in the outfield. Bryce Harper's playing first base. So they're not getting Hoskins. He's not a trade partner on this. And Brewer fans thinking that the Phillies would be a trade partner, not happening. They're not paying for Rhys Hoskins. The reason why they didn't re-sign him, and he's not going back to the Phillies. So the Brewers trying to trade Rhys is going to be difficult if they want to trade him. And then you're also looking at, well, who's playing first base? Well, if they go out and trade Rhys and we'll say trade, unload Rhys. If they unload Rhys to somebody, to some sap out there, they return him. They have nothing at first base. So would you look at signing Goldschmidt? What do? The market out there for first baseman, there's a lot of free agents. You look at the first base list, there's a lot of guys on that list. And there's some other first basemen around the league who are on a trade block as well, better value than Rhys Hoskins. So you're also going against that. The free agent market for first baseman and some of the teams out there that might be trading their first baseman. Plus you got $18 million plus the option for the $4 million next year. So he doesn't come at a great price like Devin Williams does, even though Devin would become a free agent next year. So you're probably stuck with Rhys Hoskins. And a year ago, we wouldn't be saying stuck with Rhys Hoskins, but we are stuck with Rhys Hoskins in that big contract. I'm hoping. I have not lost faith in the guy. I don't think all of a sudden the guy has turned into a terrible ball player. He's going to be at 208 next year and hit 23 home runs, make a couple of trips to the injured list, and that's it. No. Rhys is going to have to come back and be one of the better players on this team. I hope I'm not asking too much, but I still think this guy's a viable, good player. Good player. I'm going to give him another year of coming back from that knee surgery, that ACL surgery, and maybe that's going to be the case. Rhys probably had visions. There's no doubt that he was not going to resign. He was not going to pick up the option of that $18 million for 2025, and that he was going to sign a multi-year deal with somebody. He had no choice but to pick up the $18 million. Great deal by Scott Boras there. Yeah, the Brewers kind of got fleeced by Scott Boras. Maybe we all did. That $4 million buyout for 2026. Brewers will bank that $4 million that they got from the Yankees, probably for that buyout of 2026. They'll put that money in a way, that money for a slush fund for when they have to buy Hoskins out if they don't trade him. You hope that he has a productive season. And if he does have a productive season, and God forbid the Brewers are not in a pennant race, you could trade him by mid-season, by the trading deadline. If he's putting up some nice numbers, maybe you might be able to unload him. Trade, unload him to somebody. But the Brewers are faced with a dilemma there. Ken Rosenthal says the Brewers are trying to move Rhys Hoskins. I believe Rosenthal on that. He's right on a lot of things. Brewers trying to move Rhys. Move him. Take him. Take him off my hands. I think that's what Matt Arnold's trying to do right now. We'll see. But although, again, if you you do move him, yeah, for what the Brewers paid for him, we'll be paying for it from $18 million. You hope you get better than 210 and 26 home runs out of the guy next year. Otherwise, like we always say at the Milwaukee Brewers, when they sign somebody, when they make a deal like this, it's got to either perform up to the level that we expect or outperform the contract. And sometimes it seems like that the Brewers just don't have these players perform up to the level, and we're sitting back here. We want them to make a move like this, but then it seems like sometimes it backfires in their face. The Yelich move, for instance, and the money they've committed to him. All right, we come back. How does the rotation look for the Brewers? Someone's got to get dealt out of that rotation, don't you think? Too many guys out there. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Monday Night Football coming up tonight. FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NFL, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers, you bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets into your account. Yeah, you bet $5, you got to win that $5 bet, and then you get $150 right into your account. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets all in one place. So you place your bets in one spot, and you're looking at the live play-by-play, the latest stats, you name it, so much more where you place your bets. I've been winning with the Chiefs. Last night, though, I would have said, yeah, the Seahawks, they were plus 11. Well, midway through that first quarter, I was like, man, the Seahawks aren't going to get blown out, are they? And the Packers went on to just destroy them. So that would have been a bad play. But, hey, live plays. I've done really well on the live plays. And you get a hunch in the middle of the game. Check out those latest stats. View the live play-by-play. So much more on the same page where you place your live bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started, again, $150 in bonus bets as you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner, sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also, SelectQuote. SelectQuote. World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents, the perfect teammates. When shopping for customized, affordable life insurance, they can find the right policy to keep your financial legacy safe in your family's end zone. I can't stress enough to my kid who graduated college in the working world, who's look. I know you're saying, boy, Chuck, you look old enough to have a kid who's just out of college. I do. And right now, I told him, hey, life insurance, huge. You may not think about it in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, but SelectQuote, one of the America's leading insurance brokers, nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Hey, we invest in ourselves. We take an investment in ourselves. We try to stay healthy, the best version of ourselves. SelectQuote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. And if you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage up to $5 million, no medical exam required. So get the right life insurance for you for less. Go to SelectQuote, SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Again, SelectQuote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Do not take life insurance lightly. Excuse me, Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. I ate a granola bar while I was getting ready for the show. And I got it caught in my teeth and my throat and everything. Excuse me. All right. Brewers baseball. I'm getting excited for spring training, which is two months away, believe it or not. 2 months away. Calendar-wise, the Brewers pitchers and catchers will be reporting. Now, the roster, we like to think that there's a lot to be done yet with the roster. A lot to be done, a lot to be made, and maybe a move or two. The Brewers aren't going into spring training with this roster. It's not. The roster, to me, doesn't look like a championship roster right now. some moves need to be happening here. And right now I see 7 starting pitchers: Cortes, Savale, Peralta, Ashby, Hall, Myers, and Woodruff. Okay. Cortes is going to be in the starting rotation. Peralta is going to be in the starting rotation. Myers. Those are 3 guys. Unless somehow, weirdly enough, Cortes gets spun out for a deal, he's going to be in that starting rotation. He's not pitching out of the bullpen like he did at the end of his Yankee tenure. So you got Cortes, you got Myers, and you got Peralta. So who's next? Savale, Ashby, Hall, Woodruff. Somebody asked me if Woodruff is going to get traded. You can't trade a guy coming off the surgery he's coming off and the injury that he's coming off. Woodruff, you're not trading Woodruff. Now, I hope Woodruff, all indications are things are going on the right path. I would love to pencil him in for one of my 5 guys in that rotation, but I can't quite do it yet because I got to see how things go in spring training when he's throwing off a mound and how things are going. Okay, we hear that Woodruff is going to be ready, but who knows? Like I've always said, I'm always cautious about counting on a guy coming off surgery. Injury, yes. Surgery, even more so. DL Hall and Ashby. 2 young guys, controllable. Well, Ashby's under contract. DL Hall controllable, but Ashby's under I still think a nice contract. He hasn't proven himself yet. We saw some nice things out of him in September. Could the Brewers possibly trade him in a package deal? Nice contract. Showed something in September. I don't know. Could be. Savale. They traded for Savale. Got him during the season. The one-time Tampa Bay and Cleveland product. We'll see. Savale could be a trade product out of a possibility out of this. DL Hall, who they got in the Burns deal, saw the times when he was healthy. Some good things out of Hall. He's got a lot to prove. But the Brewers have 7 guys right now in the starting rotation. Obviously, they're going with a 5-man. Do you keep all 7? Woodruff, not counting Woodruff, that's 6. Okay? Not counting Woodruff, it's 6. I think they might deal somebody out of this rotation. Not any of the, not Cortes, Peralta, or Myers. But the Brewers could package up, and maybe it is Savale. You hear a lot that the Brewers are going to package Savale in a deal, and that might be the case. But don't be surprised if here in the next couple of months, the Brewers spin another move, and it involves one of their pitchers, a trade. Devin Williams, we knew it was going to happen. We'll see if it's, and maybe they throw in an outfielder. You know, there's some outfield depth out there. Maybe they throw somebody in a package deal there. I still think the Brewers need to find their third baseman. They did not find it in the Devin Williams trade. I know some of you guys are excited, some are not. And we'll talk about that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Gametime. You want to buy tickets for a sporting event? Gametime is the place to go. Concerts, Bucks games, college events, all on Gametime. All in pricing. Toggling that feature, you show all the pricing right up front, so you're not going to get a big surprise. Some of these apps, when you buy tickets, you see a nice price on there, and by the time you keep clicking, well, the price doubles. Well, you get all in pricing all up front with Gametime, so you never get any big surprises. Panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee. Gametime will credit you 110% of the discount. Get my Bucks tickets out there in the wintertime. For sure. If you're going out of town, maybe you're going to go out of town, follow the Brewers next off season, or the Bucks or whatever, you'll find the lowest price. It's nationwide. Gametime. Gametime ticket coverage. Your ticket purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. But you got to download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. In terms apply, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime Again, there's going to be a lot of great concerts, theater, comedy shows. Find them. I'm telling you, you're going to get the best prices on Gametime. It's colorful. It's easy to view. It's easy to scroll through, and it makes your job easier when buying tickets to anything you want in the state of Wisconsin. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And by the way, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. We are there. Please, if you get the audio version of this, go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That alerts you every time we dropped an episode here on Locked On Brewers. All right, some of your comments. I'm just going to give you a few of these here. Some of your comments on Devin Williams traded to the Yankees. Steve says all the Brewers cared about was money in this deal. What a dumb movie. Well, I think most teams care about money. Dodgers seem to not. The Yankees seem to not. But the Brewers weren't obviously going to re-sign Devin Williams. So, as I mentioned in last week's podcast, the Brewers really didn't have many choices. They weren't going to get top prospects out of a farm system for this guy, Devin Williams, because of a number of different reasons. He's a closer. Everybody knows the Brewers are going to trade him. There's limited teams that need closers, and he was a rental. So the Brewers got what they could get out of him. Could they have gotten better? Who knows? He speaks the truth, says, I'm not sure Cortes was the better player acquired. This Caleb Durbin looks like a real Pat Murphy type kid. I'm stoked with the YouTube videos I've seen of him. Another speedy contact hitter. He gets more walks than strikeouts. I will caution you on these highlight videos that you see. It's easy because all the front stuff is out there. When you look at a prospect, it might be his camp putting that stuff out there, and you're going to see all good things on a YouTube highlight video. Okay? So you could probably go back in my high school career and make me look like Rod Carew. Okay? That's just the way YouTube videos are. So I wouldn't be all in on all YouTube videos, but certainly you could pick up a few things on there. Yeah, he looks like a Pat Murphy kid. Murphy was excited about it. And you know what Murphy likes? He likes the Freliks and the Tarangs, hard-nosed, gritty type players, a guy who are going to outperform maybe their own athletic ability. And those two guys do have a lot of athletic ability, but outperform them. This trade is great, says Charlie. This trade is great for the Brewers. 1 full year of Nestor is almost as valuable as an amazing closer. 175 innings, 30 starts, at a 3.77 earned run average. Plus, we get a full career of Caleb Durbin, who fits in great with the team and will help the lineup in the future. I hope so, Charlie, on Caleb Durbin. Again, it's hard for me to be all in on the upside of a kid who's 5'6". Am I going to put him at third base on opening day right now? Not right now. Ken says, I believe the Brewers front office and scouting department deserves the benefit of the doubt on this one. Adam says, the Hader trade looks a lot better now because what we got back on Williams was complete garbage. Okay. Adam not happy with what the Brewers got with Williams. I wouldn't say it's garbage. I'm just not gloating over it like some people are. Some people out there trying to sell you on this deal. The Yankees are trying to sell you on this deal. Go back. Don't go back and watch the Aaron Boone video talking about Corbin. Don't watch that because the Yankees knew all the while that the Brewers were trying to trade, or there was a market out there that the Yankees were trying to trade this kid. So they are beefing him up with all sorts of praise in the offseason. Not one part of me thought that he was going to crack the Yankees starting lineup. I don't mean to pile on this guy, but come on. Boone was throwing a load of you-know-what out there, trying to build this kid up. I'm not saying, he's not going to be a decent ball player, but don't try throwing us like he's Mike Schmidt. The returns the Brewers have gotten in the Hader and Williams deals are alarming. The comeback kid says maybe Durbin can play second base, similar to Sal at the plate, What's not like to like? Well, he hasn't played in the major leagues yet. So what if he's got the stolen base record down at the Arizona Fall League? That's not enough for me. Again, but the Brewers were in this spot where they couldn't hold out for the world for Devin Williams. Harley says, I don't think they got quite enough unless they get a bunch of cash from the Yankees. Well, they got $4.5 million from the Yankees in that deal. A lot remains to be seen on that Devin Williams deal. Just like still, I think a lot remains to be seen if the Brewers got back enough for Corbin Burns, who was a rental in Baltimore and is obviously not coming back to the Orioles. All right, that's going to do it for Locked On Brewers today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for not only messaging me, DMing me on my Twitter account, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. But, man, coming aboard here on Locked On Brewers, YouTube, appreciate it, as always. And the many downloads we're getting are growing on both audio and the video version of Locked On Brewers every day from where we took it almost 2 years ago. That's going to do it for me, Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers. Thanks for making us your first listen to every day. For your second listen, go to my guy Sully, Locked On MLB. It's got all the hot stove news right there on Locked On MLB. See you in a little bit, everybody. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.